2 days off. Yep. And yep. Why you red? Supposed to be full. Tell me the card loving, anyhow. You see it?
You're looking in front of pop-up. Yep.
Alright, cool. I'll pull it up and share it a bit later. Okay, what happened just now? Alright, welcome back to the Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur Shift the Culture podcast. Travis, I don't know where Travis is. Travis was supposed to be here. Yeah, he probably in traffic somewhere or pretending like he in traffic. I don't know where Travis is. So it's just me and Gail today. But I think, Gail, you may be just the right person to talk about this topic about. Really? Yes. Okay. I think this is going to be very interesting.
Sounds exciting.
Yes, because we're going to be talking about complacency.
All right.
Complacency, and this is something I think plagues many people. Mm-hmm. And that's not just people that want to be entrepreneurs or start their own business, but I think complacency, is something that a lot of us suffer from. So we're going to dive into it. Now, I could speak on a personal level. I know how dangerous complacency can be, because I had a job that was what some people would kind of consider to be a decent job, I guess.
Okay.
By I guess most people's standards. And I found myself, I know how people can get complacent. Mm-hmm. Like I know when it's you're making enough money, you're able to pay your bills, you're able to go out every now and again, you can take a trip every now and again. That starts to become kind of confident, and you kind of get used to that. Mm-hmm. So I understand how some people just get stuck in that, and I could have seen myself possibly getting stuck in that because I never liked working for people, to be honest with you. You can't stand working for people.
Okay.
Always hated it. Not that I had a bad job, but I just don't like working for people. Mm-hmm. But I was on this job, this particular place, for 7 years. And so I could say that I probably got complacent to a certain degree. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it took me getting fired to actually, go ahead and start my own business. Okay. So sometimes I wonder to myself, had I not been fired, would I still been around there, just doing what I was doing, getting by or whatever. Mm-hmm. I think about that from time to time. Okay. So I kind of get it. I understand complacency and how dangerous it can be. Mm-hmm. Tell us about your experience with complacency. Have you been complacent, or are you currently complacent?
No.
You don't think you are?
No. Okay. And the reason why I say that is because I know better. And
what do you mean you know better?
I know what it means to be complacent. And I've never been a complacent person in general.
Okay.
I think that we all at some point have to do something that we may not really want to do, or we may not feel is the best option for us, or it might be the best option for us at the time. But then I think it's also important for you to be true with yourself, real with yourself, and to know, who you are and what it is that you're about. And sometimes you have to do certain things that may be unpleasant at the time in order to get where it is that you want to go. I've never been a complacent person. I can remember from my first job, it was I don't want to say menial tasks, but it was a situation where I could tell that there was no upward mobility. At the time, entrepreneurship was not an idea to me. I didn't know anything about it. My father had started his own business, but he didn't bring us into what it is that he was doing. Mm-hmm. So we knew that he worked. We knew that he was no longer working a 9 to 5. We knew he set his own hours and stuff like that, but he didn't bring us into that whole process or bring us into entrepreneurship. So I really didn't know about it in general. And I was still on the get a good job, get a degree track. Mm-hmm. And so with my first job, I remember feeling uncomfortable generally over an extended period of time because I knew I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. I knew I wasn't having fun. I knew I didn't feel alive. I felt like I was on the hamster wheel. Mm-hmm. I was aware of that. Mm-hmm. That another option existed, I did not know. And that I could tell that it wasn't going anywhere. There was no room for growth. And that I remember that bothering me. Mm-hmm. And I remember telling my father that, and he said, it's a good thing that you've learned that now. Mm. That you can look at a situation and tell whether you're going to grow or not in it, or whether it's going to benefit you long term, or if it's something that you need to do. At the point he told me, if you are on a job, don't stay longer than 5 years. Don't give them more than 5 years of your life. Mm. And if you see that there's no room for growth, then do something about it. So that was really like the first baby steps into learning more about what this whole entrepreneurship thing was about, mm-hmm. and that an option was available to me to not have to work on one job for 20, 30 years, or however long people work on jobs for and retire. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't say that I'm complacent. I would say that I am going through a process, and I am more aware of my talents, what I have to offer, and I'm building something now. I'm doing what I'm doing now very specifically to build for a future time that I can see myself in. So I'm not complacent, but I do at times do what needs to be done to get where I want to go at that time.
When you say do what needs to be done, what are you referring to?
Sometimes that means having a 9 to 5.
See, and this is where I want to challenge you on now. Because you say you're not complacent, right? Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you this. Because I think it can be a level of complacency because I think what I gather from what you're saying, you could correct me if I'm wrong, is that you don't get comfortable on a particular job. You wouldn't get complacent on one particular job, mm-hmm. per se. Mm-hmm. You would move.
Not necessarily move, but then if it doesn't fit where I see myself or where I want to go, then it doesn't make sense for me to stay, in my opinion. Mm. And then in addition to that, I know long term, being an entrepreneur is what I want to do. Mm-hmm. But currently, mentally, I'm not ready for the full entrepreneurial life, right? And I think that a lot of people...
How do you know when you're ready?
When I don't have to go through this process again, I believe.
What process?
Of trying to find a job, getting angry at myself for having a job.
But this sounds like a perpetual cycle.
Which I am trying to break. I'm aware of it. And you can't break cycles you're not aware of. So I'm taking the time to become, more aware, self-aware.
Well, being aware of it is one thing, but mm-hmm. I mean, okay, because you say you're not ready, but it's like, okay, so when will you be ready?
Well, I do have an action plan in place for the business that I want to do and what I need to do to get there. Mm-hmm. And currently I'm not in, I would say, financially a position mm-hmm. to act as I have before. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the main things for me. Mm. I think you have to have a plan in place to help yourself, essentially is what I'm saying. Mm. And so I am following a very specific track that I have set for myself. And yeah, that's all I can say about that.
All right, well, let me ask, because I feel like complacency could be you may not be comfortable on a specific job or whatever, mm-hmm. but you may be comfortable with having a job, period. Right. Whether that be you moving from place to place, mm-hmm. I think that's also a level of complacency to a certain degree. Do you agree?
I could see where you're going with that. Yeah.
So that's why when you say you're not complacent, and it's not a, I mean, it could be a bad thing, but I don't want you to look at it as you're trying to duck calling yourself this thing because you don't want to be considered complacent. Mm-hmm. But it's okay to recognize it. Because that's, like you just said, that's the only way you will be able to do something about it, mm-hmm. is to recognize it. And I think that you may be in that state of complacency, whereas you feel as though having a job is something that you need, like you say, there's something that you need to do in order to get, I guess.
Well, having the job was more of a safety net for me. It was always an option. And I think Lincoln said something on the last pod we did about being comfortable generally. I think he mentioned that we have trained our brains to kind of sit in certain areas of life or sit in certain things that acts as a coping mechanism for us or acts as a helpful thing for us, for our brain to be comfortable, but then also it prevents growth. And I think that's essentially what it was that he was saying. And so I think that that's really more of what it is. Like, it's a comfort zone to say, okay, if something doesn't come through, this is a fallback and a safety net. And so I would agree with that being.
See, and that's what a lot of people fall victim to that same thing. This safety net or this plan B or whatever they want to refer to it as. And I think that holds a lot of people back. It stops a lot of people because you don't put your full effort because you know you have this safety net.
Yeah.
Now, if you were, what you call them, people who's be swinging from the things up there, if you was one of them acrobats and you know ain't no net down there, buddy, best believe you're going to put out an extra effort to make sure you don't fall. But see, if you know the net there, you ain't going to reach as far, you ain't going to put the same amount of effort, which is why I think one of the traits that I have naturally is I feel as though I work better under pressure, and I have to be like how I got fired, like that's the ideal situation for me. Like I have to be pushed in the water. I like that. I work well under those circumstances. Like I don't do well with having safety nets or plan Bs and stuff like that. Like if I have those things, then I might end up like most people and just coasting because I know that I have something else that I could rely on. But I prefer not to have those things.
I shared a video from Gary Vee speaking about entrepreneur versus entrepreneurial tendencies, and I kind of related more with the entrepreneurial tendencies part, because to be an entrepreneur means, like you said, flying out without knowledge of a safety net, flying out without a parachute or something that's going to be able to assist you in the event that certain things don't go that way. And so it just comes back to you being honest with yourself, because this whole thing about entrepreneurship, like it's not an easy life. Like it's not glamorous. It's not.
Well, you know what I put when you know what I like to do. I like to flip it, and I say this freaking working for people life ain't no easy life.
That's true too.
To me. To be honest, that's worse than entrepreneurship, because you have no control over your situation. I mean, you have to a certain degree because you could quit. But if you have already subscribed to this notion that I have to have this job or whatever, you have somebody that's basically telling you what you're worth, telling you what your time is worth, when they could pay you, telling you when you could take breaks, telling you how long you could get sick for, and basically laying out the tasks that you're supposed to do. You have basically somebody controlling your life. And to me, that's a hard life. That's a worse life than actually setting your own rules and doing what it is that you want to do. Now the risk, and even lately, I don't even see it as being more risky as an entrepreneur, because I am a testament to, listen, that job ain't sure. You could be fired at any moment. And then what you could do, because you have now invested all of this time, all of this effort and this energy into building somebody else's business. And if they kick you flat on your hip, all that is moot. All that is gone. And only they benefit from your hard work and dedication. So that's the way I like to look at it. I think it's all about perspective and how you look at the situation.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that, especially with being an entrepreneur, deciding to go out on your own, it's not worth it if you're not in all the way.
Right.
It's not worth it if you're not 100% into it. And with my efforts, I believe that I have not been 100% into it. And that's based on, again, myself, fair, all sorts of things that we've spoken to over the duration of this podcast. And so recognizing that it's more preparing, a season of preparation, and then doing it, right? And would you agree that not everybody is an entrepreneur?
Oh, definitely, of course. Because I mean, it would be impossible for everyone to be an entrepreneur, because who the entrepreneurs can hire?
Right, yeah.
You understand? So we realize everybody is not that. And that's the thing, is it's important for the person to realize whether or not that's truly who they are.
Yeah.
Because you may like me, like let's say for example, I would love to be in the NBA. I would love to be a point guard for one of the big teams playing NBA basketball. But the reality of the situation is that's not my skill set. You understand? So the desire may be there. The passion for the game may be there. But that may not be my skill set.
Right.
You understand? And I think it's important to recognize when it is or it isn't for you. So you may have a lot of people that may mentally they want to do it, they want to go for it, but then they fall short when it comes to the action.
Yeah.
They can do all the planning in the world, they can plot it out, put business plan together, have these ideas, but when it comes to execution, it ain't there.
Yeah.
So that may just mean that person just it ain't for them.
Right.
And there ain't nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But the sooner you could recognize that, then the better for you.
Right.
Because now you could start, I guess, figuring out what it is that you really want to do and that your skill set is better suited for. So I think people need to just be self-aware and just be honest with themselves and, recognize by, I thought, I really wanted to go down this path.
Right.
But as time passed, I just recognizing that maybe this ain't for me. You know what I mean? But then again, it may be because there are times when, we have those moments. You may fall into that moment and that may just be for the time being. But it's up to the person. I think not everyone are meant to be entrepreneurs, but I think everyone has the potential to be. We are all born entrepreneurs. But society breaks us and conditions us to be workers.
Agreed.
So everyone, in my mind, everyone has the potential to be an entrepreneur. But the reality is not everyone will be. Because not everyone is going to follow through with that potential.
Yeah.
And it's up to the person to decide. Because anybody could do it, You just have, it's all up here. It's just mentally. People just beat themselves up mentally and tap out. You understand? So it's all up here. You have to decide, this is what I can do, and ain't nothing can stop me.
I think, especially with your comfort level, I think you have to decide whether or not you are being complacent within yourself, or whether this is what's comfortable in terms of this is what you want to do. Because a lot of times I tried to be complacent. I tried to be complacent? I couldn't do it. Yeah, like I tried to.
Or try to settle in a job you
Yeah, like settle down and this is what it is and blah, blah, blah. But I feel like there's something within your spirit almost that won't let you be comfortable in that, wherever that is. And has been my experience for an extended period of time.
So you're battling.
Yes.
Because you have this, it seems you have this inner desire. Yeah, you have this inner desire to not fall into this block and be, the worker or whatever. But then when it comes to executing and going full force into it, you kind of like, I don't know. Yeah. So let me ask you this.
Okay.
When you think about going full force into it, what would you say is the number one thing that really stops you or like makes you revert back to, well, let me get this job and see if I can do this? What is that thing that sends you right back into that state of mind?
I think that it is not having a concrete idea to move forward on.
When you say concrete idea, what you mean?
Like for you, you sell cookies. That's what you do. That's what it is. That's what the business is.
But in the beginning, and it's probably just like where you are, because I'm sure you had different business ventures.
Right.
In the beginning, it was nothing. It was just an idea.
Okay, but at some point,
it is something that had to be developed.
At some point, you thought, I will sell cookies.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have that. I will blank.
Well, you say you do marketing.
I do marketing, and currently in the Bahamian market, it gets a little interesting in terms of like social media marketing, traditional marketing, etc. Like even with our Bahamian companies, if you're not doing anything tangible, I would say like if you're not in like graphic design, photography, videography, it gets to be a bit difficult to well, companies are starting to come around now. But when I was first thinking about studying marketing at COB and doing marketing, traditional marketing was the only thing here in this market, right? With marketing, currently, I can do it, but I'll be honest with you, I don't feel like it's the I sell cookies for me.
So you don't, when you say that, what exactly do you mean?
I can do it, and I do it now, obviously, but I don't feel like it's my cookie caterer. Like, I don't feel like it's my...
Is that based on the success or lack thereof that you've experienced? Let's say if you started to do it and took off, hitting your goals, making a bunch of money, would you have felt the same way?
Okay, let me see how to put this. It's essentially the same as a job, right? Because you're freelancing, but you are working for somebody while you freelance. So in marketing, you're doing graphic work, you're doing other work, but at the end of the day, somebody else is controlling your creative direction and somebody else is controlling the end product of the creative process. And so, like with marketing, with graphic design, yeah, you design this, or yeah, you want to put this out in this manner, but at the end of the day, somebody else, whoever you're doing marketing for, is essentially going to dictate the end product or the end result of that effort. And so that's really where I get kind of hung up because, yeah.
I think it is. I think that's the case to a certain degree. Because I know of people like in that particular field or even similar fields, like they have built a repertoire to where people be like, listen, are these the details I need? You do it.
Those are like the ideal customers. And they come around once every so often, and they are perfect, and we love them. But if I was doing marketing for the cookie caterer, for example, at the end of the day, you have a style, you have a brand, and you have a certain way that you would like things to appear to the public in terms of your marketing and branding, etc. And so I need to, if I'm working for you, I need to fall into that line, which may not necessarily be what I want to do. But if I would like to be paid by you, I need to do it. So that's really where I want creative freedom. Like, I want to do whatever, and like, that's it. And like, I need to find wherever that sweet spot is that I can do that and somehow make money. That's where I want to be. So I think that's really what my thing is, because if I'm marketing, I'm doing social media marketing for people. I mean, not to say it's a bad thing, but like, it gets on my nerves because they have the way that they want things to be done, or way that, and even if I have suggestions, if they don't agree, we can't do it, that kind of way. So that's really where I'm trying to like flesh things out, because I don't like that myself.
What is that one business that you tried that you loved doing but just didn't work out?
The one business that I tried that I loved doing that just didn't work out. I don't think I have one in particular. No.
You know what I think comes into play? And you said this on a previous episode. I think what's driving you is causing you to be in this position.
Okay.
Because on a previous episode where we were asking, what drives us or whatever, your answer was money. And I think this is why it's difficult for you to figure out what it is that you want to do, because what's driving you isn't specific to one type of business or whatever. You could make money doing many things. And if money is your goal, then I mean, how much options you have to make money? You understand?
Yeah.
So I think maybe what drives you may be the wrong thing.
Okay.
In terms of you being able to pinpoint out one thing that you really want to do.
Okay.
And this is why I feel personally, and from what I've heard, that the most successful people are not driven by money. You know what I mean? They're driven by an idea and a passion for this idea that they have, or something that they want to do, some change to the world, or whatever it is they want to do. They're driven by a passion for something specific.
Right.
And them following that passion is what led to them making money. Money wasn't the goal. So maybe in order for you to find what that thing is, you may have to switch your focus or what's driving you.
Which is, to me, that's why I was describing this time period as the, growth, development, awareness, etc. phase, because what you're saying, I agree with, right? But then how do I change that, or how do I make that better? I need to, in order to progress to where I want to go. So that's really what I'm working on now. This is like the cocoon phase for me, because I've tried
I think you just
ventures,
need to,
I've done stuff.
I think you just need to think of something that what gets you excited.
You don't have time for that.
We
don't have to have a therapy session.
But I mean, I think everyone has something that when they think of, like something that excites them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some ideal, something excites them. Like, what is it that excites you? I think that's a good place to start. Because for me, I don't do this because I don't do this to sell cookies just to make money. But there's a bigger picture. You understand? There's a bigger plan, and that's what gets me excited. Like, building a multi-billion-dollar company is exciting. You know what I mean? Especially knowing where you come from. Come from nothing, no money, no nothing. And to know that you are able to do this thing and have this impact on people's lives because, you got to hire people and stuff. Like, those things excite me, and that's what drives me. Not when someone give me $10, $15 for a box of cookies, and I'm, oh, money. No, you know what I mean? That ain't what gets me excited. It's the big idea that gets me excited. So I think you just need to find that one thing that excites you and try it out. Follow it without thinking about money. And you're in a position where you have a job, so you could get by, you could eat, you pay your bills or whatever. So that ain't really an issue for you. You could put your effort and passion behind something without worrying about the money right now. So I think that should be the focus. And that's for anybody, I guess, anyone who have a job that don't want to, that or at least tell themselves they don't want to.
Entrepreneurial dreams.
Yeah, who don't want to have a job. Find that one thing that excites you. Something that gets you excited every time you think about it. You know what I mean? That you want to build upon. And I think that's something that can help you from falling into that place of complacency into that job, because you get excited about this thing and you want to work on it, you want to build it, you know what I mean? So I think that's a way to escape falling into complacency. Like I said, it ain't a bad thing. I mean, well, let me don't say it ain't a bad thing, because it could be. It's a bad thing if you want more for yourself, but you are settling for this.
Yes.
That's when it's a bad thing.
Yes.
But if you are comfortable, if you happy,
more power to you.
More power. Do it. Be complacent. If you safe and you feel good about it, this is what you want out of life. You getting the stuff you want. By all means, be complacent. So complacent don't necessarily have to be a bad thing or a negative term.
But it is negative for the entrepreneur.
For someone that's not okay with being complacent.
Yeah.
Because you have people that are okay with it, and that's fine. That's fine. Now I know you got to go back to work. So we can wrap this episode up. Hopefully, people learn something, and hopefully you find a passion. Don't be driven just by the money. Not just Gail, but a lot of people driven by money these days. Money just take over people's lives.
Go round.
Really? I gotta look that up inside and see if that's true.
Okay.
Good. What you say on the second part?
What happened?
Anyhow, thank you for listening, people. And like we say all the time, losers make excuses, winners make adjustments.
Yay. Yay. It's after show. It's after show.
You see Travis ain't reach yet, right?
I know, right?
Can you imagine if you try waiting on that nigga?
My lord.
All right, what time is it? 3:07.